welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to go into the heart and mind of a beautiful young lady whose journey is truly one of remarkability, from being a foster care parent to adults with disability to raising her own children, raising her high school sweetheart, been married for over 30 years. But through these beautiful journeys, as beautiful as this may sound, we can sometimes lose ourselves in the struggles and caring for others, that we forget to put ourselves first and forget our happiness. Today, she's here to share her journey. She's all over social media, and I've been following her. She's definitely that beast mindset in full mode, so to speak. But she's here to talk about that journey and how she recaptured her inner beauty, her inner self, and how she's actually inspiring others to follow in the same footsteps. I'd like to welcome to the show Alicia Olson. Did I get it right?
You got it right. You
welcome
did.
to the
Thank you for
welcome to
having
the
me.
show. So
Thank you.
let's start out with a little bit about who Miss Olson actually is.
Oh, that's always a hard question because, often we default to like what we do, but
Right,
who we are is not what we do, right?
right.
I am a Minnesota girl. You'll
Okay.
hear it in my accent probably. Um, I am the oldest daughter. I have two younger brothers, but I am an animal lover at heart. I have four big dogs. I accumulate animals and I would have a huge farm if I could. I love vacationing. I love the beach. I love to just be busy, 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 going, going, going. I don't like to sit still.
Mhm.
I love people, like in general, even though they make people are people, but I love people and love to like help people and serve people and be about people.
Mhm.
Um, and have a lot of empathy, too much empathy sometimes, but that's just kind of me. Animals, people, travel. I just love to experience different cultures and all of that.
Looking at your social media page, that brought attention, at least to me, was the health concerns and how these health concerns basically put you in a situation to where you had to go back and reevaluate who you are as a person. You mentioned during the pre-interview that you do something that I wasn't aware that even existed. You mentioned that you're a foster caregiver, but not just for little kids, but more importantly, individuals that have disability. Explain that and how you got into that.
Yeah. So when I was in college, there was a company that would hire for experience um, for you to come into like the corporate group home systems to gain experience if you're going into physical therapy, nursing, doctors to get experience for your resumes. And I kind of fell into it and it completely like shifted my perspective of where I was headed in life. Kind of found a passion for people who are often forgotten. Um, you know, disabilities, physical, mental, both um that can't live on their own, but they're so important and people forget about them. That a lot of times they end up in nursing homes or just forgotten, but they deserve, to go bowling and see movies and go out for coffee and be loved on and treated with dignity and respect, just like you or I do. And so that was a huge passion of mine. So I have an individual that lives with us and they go on family trips with us. And like we've been to Disney a few times and they come with us and get to give them the experience of family life that they deserve. So, yeah.
Did you married your high school sweetheart?
Yeah.
Were did the thought of doing foster care surface prior to you having your kids by your husband, or was this something that you guys talked about after having you guys as family? When did that thought come in to even, because you're talking a big responsibility now, not only are you taking care of your kids? And I'm pretty sure you probably had your kids first before you guys thought about bringing in the foster care. Am I correct?
So we started dating in high school, and actually did adult foster care. I stepped into that role in college before
Okay.
we were even married. And then I worked for another company while we had our first kiddos. Um, I went out on my own after I had our fourth kiddo, and had
Keto.
adults.
What is
I
keto? I
most
never heard that. I never heard that
kiddo, my
word. Yeah.
kiddo, my kids.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe it's a Midwestern term, kiddos, my kids. Um, I like opened my own business because I was sick of somebody else making money off of my hard work when I would do just the same amount of work and them not make money off of me.
Right.
So I became licensed through the state and the county on my own here in the state of Minnesota and opened my own group home here. I most just recently started doing started the licensing for the kid aspect. We actually haven't done another child in our home at
Mhm.
this point. But my husband is just always along for the ride.
Right.
He just, I always joke that I could bring home an entire whale and he'd be like, well, this is inconvenient. And then he'd build an aquarium. So he
Isn't it
just
called? Isn't it
goes with the
called?
flow.
Isn't it called Happy Wife, Happy Life?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He truly just goes with the flow. I try not to be as crazy, but
So, how did you guys introduce bringing that kind of responsibility into your home as you know as your occupation? Because, like I said, this requires a lot of responsibility and a lot of time that may
Mhm.
or may not be able to be distributed evenly with your kids, your husband, and so forth. How was you able to
Yeah.
do that and bring that in?
Yeah. I guess it's all we know. Because that's what I was doing when we got married. I was working for a company doing it. That's all my kids know. With me doing it on my own, I'm in control of how my time is spent. I have one part-time staff that really helps a lot. Like my part-time staff is here right now while we're chatting so that we can have time alone. And when I go on vacations, like with my husband, I have a staff that comes. So I'm able to have some reprieve there. But it's all we've known. And we've just, there's that saying that everybody has the same time pie chart. And you just have to allocate how your time goes. You're responsible for that. And we've just had to figure out how to master that as well as we can. And we've learned really early on that frequent and conversations and communication and reevaluating your time is super important. And we just make it work. We're always busy. We're just always busy.
How do you determine who you are willing to take on as a responsibility as a part of your responsibility? Because I'm aware of foster care children, but
Yep.
you're talking about adults. Let's clarify that
Adults.
too. We're talking adults.
Mhm. Yeah.
What age bracket are we talking about when we say adults? And then more importantly, how do you determine who you're willing to take on as a
Mhm.
responsibility? And is this a joint venture with the foster care actual organization and
Yep.
yourself? How do you and your family determine who do you bring in and how long is this stay once you do
Mhm.
bring the individual in?
Yep. So every state is probably different, but here basically there's social workers or case managers that are contracted either through the counties or independent contractors that have clients that are looking for placements. The clients are pretty much the ones that determine what they're looking for as far as short term or long term. Um, and they range anywhere from 18 upwards on. Um, the type of license you have determines what age bracket you're taking. So I could take anywhere from 18 until 65 at this point. And essentially you meet with them and you go over their paperwork, and they meet you and your family, and you meet them, and you just try to, feel it out to see if it's going to be a good fit. And you just give it a go.
You
And if
said
it doesn't fit,
18. You said 18 to 65.
yep, an adult.
Please help me understand what kind of disabilities that you might be dealing with these individuals between the ages of 18 and you said 65. That's a
It's a
serious,
big thing.
yeah.
They could be autistic where they're not like profoundly mental retardation. They could be wheelchair bound. They could be like highly diabetic. They could be suicidal. They could be schizophrenic. They could be quadriplegic. There's a lot of different types of things. They just can't succeed at living life fully on their own. They have to have somebody supporting them for some reason, whether it's like physically or medically or mentally. There's some kind of support needed.
How many individuals do you usually have to
I
have
just
responsibility of?
I just do one because I want to have a family. My whole heart is to provide a family that someone didn't have. So the people that I've served up until this point are people who have come from an abusive, neglectful upbringing, who don't know what it's like to have a healthy family dynamic, who
Right.
didn't get to go on family trips, who didn't, experience the healthy family quarrels where you bicker and then you love each other afterwards, right? You like they didn't get to have that, what family dinners were like, a stable home, like they didn't get to have that. So that's my heart, is to show them what that's like and give them stability. And so I just do one because I can't, with 5 kids and husband, we can't bring everybody to Disney, like I have a Suburban and we can't fit any more than 8 people in a car. We'd have to have a bus. So
You
I just do
guys,
one.
so you and your husband, what are some of the questions that you ask each other when you're getting ready to take on a responsibility, and how do you determine the age factor? Because
Mhm.
your kids are still there. So how do you and your
Yep.
husband determine the age brackets, and more importantly, what are your skill traits that, because you can't be a jack of everything. So how do
Yeah.
you determine what you're going to bring into your house?
Yeah. I've been in the field for 18 years now, so I've gotten a really good feel. Um I am of like what I can handle as far as like a lot of the things are. The biggest thing that I always have to really make sure of, especially when it comes to the mental health piece, is the safety aspect of it. I don't allow um those whom are physically aggressive in my home. That's one that I won't even interview. That doesn't have a place in the home with kiddos, or those who have had like essay history, things like that.
Mm.
But there's not much I haven't worked with or handled in the past with that. So my husband really just trusts me to know what I can and can't handle and take a read on. We've been really well, the person that lives with us now has been with us for 3.5 years, and they actually lived with a family member that does what I do prior.
Right.
So we've known them. They've been in the family for a long time. So it's been a really great fit. The person that was with us prior to that was a shorter term, that we actually ended up like realizing that, you know what, we can't do like long term. This isn't a great fit for the safety of our kids. So you just sometimes end up to that point and help them find a new place to go.
Before we switch the gears and then go into
Yeah.
back to how it affected you, let's stay on this particular topic because this is very interesting, not only to me, but
Yeah.
to the viewers, to educate them.
Yeah.
You've been in this for years. What do you, and it's
Yeah.
hard to, you just can't have people coming in your house and don't develop some type of attachment, whether it be
Yep.
good, bad, or indifferent. If you have to send them away
Mhm.
because they have issues that you can't handle, or it might be a safety issue in the house, and even the
Mhm.
ones that you have seen and helped and they go on, or whatever
Mhm.
situation is, what needs to be done to bring um, recognition to what you do? What do we need to do?
Unfortunate I think in any state, I think people being aware of it and helping be a voice. Right now in the state of Minnesota, we're fighting deeply against legislators who are trying to cut funding. They're balancing a lot of states. If you dug into this in your state, I'm sure you noticed this too. They're balancing budgets on the backs of these people and the elderly, and also the children whom have disabilities. And the voices of them are not loud enough because they can't often advocate for themselves. And so like right now in the state of Minnesota, come 2026, we are forced with as providers either being paid almost below minimum wage to provide cares for them or having to close our doors and send them off to who knows where. So I think people, across the United States being aware of these wonderful people whom don't have a large voice
Right.
and getting involved in like the legislative calls of it and just kind of helping making sure that the people are being advocated for would be one of the best things that you can do because they matter so much, just like you and I. They just don't have a loud enough voice to be heard. They don't get to get on the social media apps and share their stories as loud as you or I do. um, and they're just as beast mode. Some of them have lived through some of the most horrific stuff, but
But
they just don't get to share it out loud, you know. Sorry,
you,
I get emotional about it because I'm so passionate because you hear some of the worst stuff.
I can look at your eyes and see how passionate you are about this. On the crusade, by doing this and being an advocate for the silent voices, is what we might call them at this point. Um, it was done at also impacting your health and your family, where you actually wind up getting up to 276 pounds at 5'5". That's a
Mhm.
lot of weight.
Mhm.
How did you
Yeah.
get, how did you get back to your own crusade? Because at that kind of weight, you couldn't have been uh, at the happiest moments of your life, so to speak.
No, no. So, you know, I found myself in a lot of physical pain. I was having a lot of joint issues and brain fog. Like I would be having a conversation and I'd forget what I was talking about, or I'd start stuttering. And I'm like, thought I was dying. So I go to the doctor and they don't always care. When you're overweight, you get dismissed a lot at doctors. And so lots of doctor's appointments later, they basically said they think I probably have lupus and that my only hope at not ending up in a wheelchair anytime soon is to just lose weight. They say like you like just lose weight. It's like the same as like just go buy a car or just, go brush your teeth. It's just easy.
Right.
Um, and it's not like I hadn't tried a lot. But it wasn't until I took action that I realized how self-sabotaging I had been in the past with my weight loss trials and failures,
What do you
as to
mean?
why it
What do you
hadn't
mean by that?
happened.
What do you mean by that when you say self-sabotaging? Explain that.
Yeah. So a lot of times we start a diet and it works initially and then it stops working, right? And then you convince yourself that it's just another diet that doesn't work and then you stop. But you don't keep going and push through it. And so it probably would have continued to work, but you convinced yourself that it didn't work because it stopped working for a second, not giving it a chance to realize that like sometimes you lose weight for a couple weeks and then it stops working because you've like that's normal, but you keep going with consistency and then it will pick back up. Or maybe you didn't like lose any fat, but maybe you built muscle. There's a lot of stuff, but you just convince yourself quick, like, oh, it's not working. That's another thing. I'm just destined to be fat my whole life.
You at 5'5", getting up to almost 300 pounds, somebody in your husband or somebody had to notice something was going on with your health. Did anybody address this with you?
No, no, no. My husband is one of those people that like genuinely loved me for every little, no matter what pound, where I was at, like ever. Like he now sees like the side by sides and like sees the difference in me from where I was then to now, especially personality wise. And he sees it. And now he'll see people that show like how I would always like try to cover myself and like pull my shirts down or hold pillows over myself, or how I'd act. And he sees people like that and he wants to go be like, you could like, you don't have to feel that way. He wants to go tell them like, you don't have to feel that way. You can find hope. My wife did it, you know? But when in those moments outside of me being in pain and him feeling sad for that, he never like thought, man, she's overweight or she's fat. Like he didn't.
How
But
di
yeah, no one approached it.
how difficult was the journey, and what was the first 3 things that you recognized that needed to be a matter of importance in order for you to start your journey? Because you said you
Sure.
tried all kind of things. So when
Yeah.
did the accountability really set in, and what were the 3 steps that you had to do and you had to stick with to get to where you got to?
Yeah. So I'm an all or nothing personality, which everybody can talk down on. But when you need to get something done, we get things done because it's just you either do it or you don't.
Okay.
And so
Wait a minute, hold
somebody
on a
that
minute, wait a minute now. You might have contradicted yourself for a moment here. You said you're all or nothing, so if you're have the all or nothing beast
Mhm.
mindset drive,
Yeah. Yeah.
then how could the failure have even taken place when you tried it to begin with?
Because when you're all or nothing, you do it, and then when it's not working, then you're not going to do it. There is no in between.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so part of my journey in the mental part is having to let go of that. I'm very much not as much of all or nothing as I used to be. If you've known me, if anybody has known me for a long time, Alicia Olson, can live in the gray a little bit, and that's huge. I've
Okay.
always been more of a very black or white. But somebody that I had actually dieted with via social media off and on for years she had found success. She had undone, like she had found it. And I had watched her for a long time. And so when I had hit that point where there was no going back, like I had to make a decision on if I was going to just live in my misery and accept my fate with potential lupus and live in a wheelchair. The caregiver who's supposed to caregive, who might end up being cared for in a
Right.
wheelchair, or I was gonna have to turn it around. So I was like, that's okay, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, all right, girl, you need to tell me what you did. Like, let's go. And so I basically copy pasted everything she did.
Okay.
I went to the same place where she had her VSG surgery, which is a sleeve where they go in and remove a part of your stomach, basically leaving like a banana, and they remove the ghrelin part where your ghrelin hormones in your stomach are produced to allow you to go into a deep deficit for a period of time. I hired a therapist and I hired a trainer, and I just went at it
So
full force.
a lot of the weight loss came from the surgery by
Yeah.
restricting those particular areas that was okay. And then
Yeah.
they usually as a trainer myself and dealing with females and males that both have had this type of procedures, you're really
Mhm.
limited on the amount of nutrients, aka calories is what most people call it as,
Yeah.
in your body, which usually results in um a lot of skin fold. What
Mhm.
I noticed on your social media that you talked about that a lot,
Mhm.
and you was getting a lot of
Mhm.
backlash from that.
Mhm.
But my hats off to you that you did
Yeah.
recognize what you had to do, and that is
Mhm.
a journey in the process for
Yep.
and it but people feel, "Look, it costs a lot of money." Back in the day,
Mhm.
they would cut it off and it was no problem, but now they don't do
Yeah.
that for numerous reasons. But
Yeah.
how was your success in the and let's call that minor details?
Yeah.
How were they accepting your journey? Are you getting more positive or more criticism? What is that like for you?
So I get both, but I've really finally arrived at the point where I've learned that I am in control of what feedback I allow to penetrate my skin and what I don't.
Mhm.
Like I hold the key to my happiness and nobody does. So if I let somebody's opinion like bother me, it's like they hold the key to my happiness, and I'm not going to let a stranger decide when I get to be happy or not. And so through my journey I've learned that. And so I just like let it roll off my back.
Yeah.
But people are rude, people are cruel, and I see them make comments to other people, and that's what really gets a fire under my skin, is knowing that they're saying that to like my fellow friends on the internet. Like people are just mean. But in real life, the people whose opinions I value, um, they're nothing more than proud of me. And even just sharing like my loose skin, just knowing that there's other women out there that like specifically that have it. I know there are some men, but obviously my main outside of the creepers who are sliding into my DMs asking to see my belly button. I have mostly women who are in my DMs that are like, thank you for sharing your skin. My stomach looks like that too from having kids. And I just have, no one ever shows that. And I finally just wore my swimsuit because you made me feel normal. And like, that's my whole point also of sharing that. It's like, we just have normal bodies and it's okay to share your normal body. You don't have to have nip tuck skin
How do
to
you
wear swimsuit.
how do you feel now with your journey pretty much almost completed with
Yeah.
developing muscle now? I see you training
Mhm.
and pumping,
Yeah.
and I can see you get a little frisky when you get those bad DMs telling people you don't mind. I'll be watching, mind your own business. I like that. Stick
Yeah.
up for it. But
Yeah.
how are you feeling now, knowing that you care for so many and you're still doing that? My hats off to you for doing that. But now you've gone back to recognizing who you really are as an
Yeah.
individual and a true caregiver. How do you feel?
Yeah. I love it. I I'm glad that I turned it around. I feel like it's helped me be, as crazy as it is, a lot of times as caregivers, as women, as moms, we feel like we've been programmed to taking care of ourselves as selfish, right? Like we're supposed to give, 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 give every ounce of ourselves. Um, and that's a lie, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't actually be the best mom, wife, caregiver. And I've learned that. And so now, like my kids are always like, Mom, you're like way more fun. You have more energy. Like you can actually like do fun things with us. You're not just sitting down. And the things I've learned nutritionally that I've been able to like impart into the people I take care of and my family. I just I always have room to grow, but I like this version of me better than the 3 year ago version of me.
But don't you
Yeah.
think it's funny that you mentioned something about your kids saying, you're more fun and blah blah blah. It makes you wonder then how much of the hurt that they keep inside, seeing what you was going through, and it took you to put towards that effort to invest in yourself for them to feel comfortable telling you so and so how they really feel now. Does that make any
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah. Well, 100%. One of my children actually watched my journey, and um because of it, we uncovered that they saw how I looked and how I ate and actually developed disordered eating because of it, because they didn't want to look like I did.
Oh,
And so they do. Mom, like we don't realize that their little minds develop those little thoughts. You wouldn't think at a young age that they would. You think like it's like, preteens, teens. No, as little kids, they have opinions, they see things. And they're like, when mom eats hamburgers, or when mom likes pasta. So like if I eat hamburgers or I eat pasta, I'm gonna look like mom. And I don't want to look like that.
wow. Yeah.
So I'm
And
not.
it's funny how they mirror what they see, and we as parents don't realize that. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's good that they did recognize and see that their mom did do a change and so forth.
Yep.
What's your end game before we wrap up? What's your end game? What message should the viewers have gotten from this episode?
Yeah. I just, my heart is always like mama's. Like, there is not a lot of time in the day, but like for me, like I just get up. 20 minutes before my kids to get in, like me time, whatever that means to feed yourself. So for me, I found out that mentally I do so much better by being physically active. So I set up a little teeny tiny gym in my garage just to get my workout in quick, just to feed into my soul, listen to what I want to listen to for 20 minutes. But like, I don't have a secret sauce. I just always coulda, shoulda, woulda. Thought that I was destined to be overweight and to be in pain and to never feed into myself. And like, it is possible. We just have to get over that self-sabotage hump that we're destined for failure, because we're not, and we're not created to just survive. We are created to thrive.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.